My Weird School Daze, Book number 12. Ms. Leaky is Freaky. Written by Dan Gutman. Pictures by Jim Pellot. Chapter 4. The Perfect Food. Soon it was time for lunch in the vomitorium. Me and the guys sat at our usual table. Andrea and her girly friends sat at the next table so they could bother us. Michael had a ham sandwich. Ryan bought the school lunch, which is disgusting. He'll eat anything, even stuff that isn't food. My mom packed me a peanut butter sandwich and a Twinkie. Do you think we would really get strong if we ate more fruits and veggies? Asked Neil the nude kid. It would be cool to be strong like Ms. Leaky, said Michael. Then we could sword fight with lots of bad guys dressed like food and beat everybody at arm wrestling. I ate a piece of asparagus once, I told the guys. It was gross. I thought I was gonna die. That's when Little Miss Know-It-All at the next table turned around. Ms. Leaky is right, you know, Andrea said. Eating healthy food is good for your body. When Andrea turned back around, we all made faces at her. Ms. Leaky is weird, said Ryan. Why do you think she's always running out of the room? She needs to go exercise, said Michael. She's obsessed with exercise. I finished my sandwich and peeled the wrapper off my Twinkie. I don't know if you've ever eaten a Twinkie, but it's the best food in the history of the world. I could eat Twinkies all day long. Well, not in the shower. That would be weird, but Twinkies are the perfect food. I was about to put the Twinkie in my mouth when the weirdest thing in the history of the world happened. Stop! A voice shouted. It was Ms. Leaky. She came running full speed into the vomitorium like she was in the Olympics. She appeared out of nowhere. She must have a Twinkie detector or something. Drop that Twinkie, Ms. Leaky screamed as she grabbed my hand. The Twinkie was an inch from my mouth. But I'm hungry, I complained. Do you know what that thing is made of? Asked Ms. Leaky. A golden sponge cake with creamy filling? No, she shouted. Dextrose, sodium oxide pyrophosphate, polysorbate 60, partially hydrogenated animal shortening. You want to put all those chemicals into your body? The Twinkie was still an inch from my mouth. I looked at it. Then I looked at Ms. Leaky. Then I looked at the Twinkie again. Then I looked at Ms. Leaky again. Eat it, AJ, whispered Ryan. She can't tell you what to do. Don't eat it, AJ, said Michael. Eat it, AJ, whispered Neil the nude kid. Don't eat it, Arlo, said Andrea. I was faced with the hardest decision of my life. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. I had to think fast. I was concentrating so hard that my brain hurt. And then I leaned forward and took a bite of the Twinkie. Ms. Leaky grabbed my upper and lower teeth with her hands and tried to pull them apart. "Spit out the Twinkie, AJ," she screamed. "Stop this junk food madness." "But I love sodium oxide pyrophosphate," I yelled. I managed to swallow that bite of Twinkie, but Ms. Leaky grabbed the rest of it out of my lunchbox. Then she jumped on top of our table. "Do you kids know that the average person eats 50 pounds of cookies and cake every year?" she shouted so everybody in the vomitorium could hear. "You eat 18 pounds of candy, 5 pounds of potato chips, 100 pounds of sugar. No wonder today's kids are so unhealthy." Ms. Leaky jumped down from the table and grabbed one of the big garbage cans we scrape our cheese into. Then she started taking ding-dongs and yodels and cupcakes off kids' cheese and throwing them into the garbage can. "Free yourselves from the shackles of sugar," she shouted. "Put your junk food in here. Begin a new life for yourself. Join the sugar-free revolution." Some of the kids actually threw their junk food into the garbage can. What is their problem? "Come, follow me, everyone," Ms. Leaky yelled, pulling the garbage can behind her. She marched out of the door of the vomitorium and started singing. "Drink your milk every day. Eat carrots for your eyes. Build strong bodies every way. And get lots of exercise." Everybody followed Ms. Leaky out the door. She dragged the garbage can across the playground to the corner. "There's a big green dumpster there." "This is where junk food belongs," shouted Ms. Leaky. She picked the garbage can up over her head with superhuman strength and emptied it into the dumpster. "Throw it away! Throw it away!" kids were chanting. It was horrible. What a waste of perfectly good junk food. This was worse than TV turn-off week. It was the worst day of my life. Chapter 5. Being Frank. After lunch, we went back to Mr. Granite's class. He was talking about recycling paper when the school secretary, Mrs. Patty, made an announcement over the loudspeaker. "Mr. Granite, please send AJ to Ms. Leaky's office." "Ooh, AJ's in trouble," said Ryan. "I told you not to eat that Twinkie, dude," said Michael. "Maybe Arlo will get kicked out of school," said Andrea. She was rubbing her hands together. That's what people do when they want something really badly. Why can't a truck full of Twinkies fall on Andrea's head? I didn't want to go to Ms. Leaky's office. You know where I wanted to go? Antarctica. I wanted to run away and live with the penguins. Penguins are cool. Nobody tells penguins they can't eat Twinkies. I walked really slowly down the hall. When I opened the door to Ms. Leaky's office, she wasn't in there. I looked around. It was a weird office. There was a treadmill, an organ, a bunch of plants, a giant metal box that looked like a coffin, a hot tub, and a punching bag hanging from the ceiling. Suddenly, the strangest thing in the history of the world happened. That giant box opened up and a monster popped out. "Ah!" I screamed. The monster pulled a mask off its face. It wasn't a monster after all. It was Miss Leaky. "Hi, AJ," she said. "Why were you lying in a metal box with the mask on your face?" I asked. "Oh, this is my hyperbaric chamber," she said. "I was breathing pure oxygen. It's good for the lungs." "A hyper what?" I asked. "Where do you get one of those things?" "From Rent a Hyperbaric Chamber," she said. "You can rent anything." I looked at the row of plants under the window. "Why do you have a farm in your office?" I asked. "I grow all my own food," she told me. "It's organic." I guess that means she plays the organ while her food grows. That's weird. "What's with the hot tub?" I asked. "It's not a hot tub," Miss Leaky told me. "It's an endless pool. I swim laps in it." "Really short laps, huh?" I said. "The endless pool has a current, like a river," Miss Leaky told me. "The water shoots past you, so you swim in one place. You can swim forever." That made no sense at all. Who wants to swim forever without going anywhere? Miss Leaky got up out of her weird box. "Would you like some trail mix, AJ?" she said, holding out a bag to me. I looked inside the bag. The stuff looked gross. "No, thanks," I said. "I don't want to eat trail." "It's nuts and fruits and berries," said Miss Leaky. "All natural things. Trail mix is good for you." "That's why I don't want to eat it." "AJ," Miss Leaky said, "can I be frank with you?" "You can call yourself whatever you want, Frank," I told her. "I'm concerned about your diet," she said. "Tell me, are you getting 3 square meals a day at home?" "Well, sometimes my meals are round, Frank," I told her. "Like when we have pizza or pancakes." Miss Leaky just shook her head sadly. "Why do you have a punching bag in here?" I asked her. "Eating junk food makes kids frustrated," she told me. "It helps if they punch the bag. It's good exercise, too." "Hitting stuff is fun," I agreed. "Would you like to try it, AJ?" "Sure." Miss Leaky got a pair of boxing gloves from her closet and put them on me. "Okay, hit that bag, AJ," she said. I hit the bag. It felt good. "Hit it again, AJ," Miss Leaky yelled. "Harder." I punched the bag some more, as hard as I could. "Punch out fat, AJ," shouted Miss Leaky. "Punch out sugar." I started dancing around the bag like a boxer, punching it, kicking it, ramming it, slamming it. It was fun. That's when the weirdest thing in the history of the world happened. A hole opened up in the punching bag, and you'll never believe in 1,100,000 years what fell out of the hole. I'm not gonna tell you. Okay, I'll tell you. It was candy. Candy and cookies and popcorn and all kinds of treats fell out. The punching bag was like a big piñata. This was the greatest day of my life. I got down on my knee and started scooping up the candy, but I couldn't pick it up because of the boxing gloves. Stop! Ms. Leaky shouted. That candy isn't for eating, it's for punching. But I want to eat it, I begged. I love candy. Ms. Leaky took the boxing gloves off me and walked me back down the hallway. AJ, she said when we got to Mr. Granite's room, you are going to be my special project this year. You're a student leader. The other kids want to do what you do. If I can get you to eat healthy, I think everyone else will follow. Will you at least try to eat better? Okay, I said. I'll try. Good, she replied. I'll be keeping a very close eye on you to make sure you do. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go do my crunches. You're going to eat breakfast cereal, Frank? I called after her. But she didn't hear me. She had already run away. Chapter 6. Meet Mr. Slug. The next day was Friday. After we pledged the allegiance, it was time for science class. Our science teacher is Mr. Docker. He has a car that runs on potatoes. Mr. Docker is off his rocker. When we got to the science room, Mr. Docker was talking to a guy I never saw before. I'd like you to meet Mr. Harrison, Mr. Docker told us. He's the new tech guy for our school. Tech guy? We all asked. What's a tech guy? I fix things that are broken, said Mr. Harrison. Computers, copy machines, telephones. I build things too. Mr. Harrison was tall and skinny. He had weird hair and one of those plastic pocket protectors on his shirt with a bunch of pens sticking out of it. His pants were too short. What a nerd! Mr. Harrison and I built something together, said Mr. Docker. Mr. Harrison took a remote control out of his pocket and pushed a button, and you'll never believe what happened next. A robot came walking out of the closet. We want to introduce you to Mr. Slug, said Mr. Docker. Mr. Slug walked to the front of the class, bumping into a few desks along the way. He didn't look like any robot I ever saw. He had a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, a can of beer in one hand, and a bag of potato chips in his other hand. His eyes were crossed. Mr. Slug was a mess. You shouldn't have cigarettes and beer in school, said Andrea. It's a bad influence on children. Yes, we know, said Mr. Docker. Ms. Leaky inspired us to build Mr. Slug. We wanted to show what happens to people who smoke and drink and eat poorly. Does Mr. Slug talk? I asked. Sure, said Mr. Harrison. Mr. Slug, how are you feeling today? Mr. Slug had a speaker on the side of his head. He made a sound like a cough. Then he coughed again. Then he had a coughing fit. Oh, I feel lousy, Mr. Slug said in a computery voice. I am so tired. Need to lie down. What day is it? Mr. Slug stumbled around the front of the room. Then he let out a burp. He doesn't sound very good, he said. He sounds like he's gonna die. Does Mr. Slug run on batteries? Asked Michael. No, said Mr. Docker. He runs on potatoes. That figured. Check this out, said Mr. Harrison. He opened a door in Mr. Slug's chest. You could look right into his body and see his insides. It was cool. Here's Mr. Slug's heart, said Mr. Harrison. And here are his lungs. See how black they are? That's what happens when you smoke cigarettes. Mr. Slug stumbled around the front of the room some more and then bumped into the whiteboard. Oh, my head, Mr. Slug moaned. So, said Mr. Docker, did you kids learn anything from Mr. Slug? Yeah, I said, robots are cool.